In From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, Ana de Armas plays Eve Maccaro, and the story runs from a violent home invasion into Ruska Roma training, then into Prague's Continental Hotel, and finally into Hallstatt when everything turns into a hunt. The gun list is a mix of common-duty hardware and very specific boutique builds, and that mix tells you a lot about who came prepared versus who's grabbing whatever works. So what's the real tell in this movie? Which guns are the flex picks, and which ones are just tools? Javier Maccaro and the Chancellor's assassins use a Glock 17 during the opening attack, and that pistol keeps returning later in training. The Glock 17 is a polymer, striker-fired 9mm handgun introduced in the early 1980s, and its standard magazine capacity is 17 rounds, basically the reason it became a global default duty pistol. It's also one of the easiest handguns to spot by silhouette. Squared slide, big trigger guard, and a simple frame profile. In Ballerina, different generations appear, including Gen 3 and Gen 5 pistols. The Model 17 can also be seen in the hands of Eve, practicing at the shooting range and the CQB house. For her first mission, she gets handed something slimmer for a club job, and the unique part is what kind of rounds it's carrying. Nogi gives Eve Maccaro a Glock 43X for her first nightclub assignment. It's described as 3D printed and loaded with rubber rounds.
Rubber bullets?
The pistol is a TTI Combat Carry build, and that package includes a carry trigger job plus a carry stipple job with an index point texture. It can also be ordered with an optic cut, which is why some versions are set up to run a micro red dot. The 43X is Glock's slimline 9mm, narrower than a Glock 17, and usually a 10-round gun in stock form. The Terran tactical branding is also a big clue. TTI is Terran Butler's company, and he's a champion shooter who's known for training actors for action roles and building high-end versions of common platforms. After the club job, a rifle shows up from a nearby rooftop, and the manufacturer name on it is famous in the precision world. The Scarred Eye Assassin uses a LaRue tactical Predatobr 7.62 while tracking Daniel Pine at the Prague Continental. OBR stands for Optimized Battle Rifle, and this one is shown as a 7.62 NATO rifle with an 18-inch barrel. LaRue Tactical has a long reputation tied to precision-minded rifles, and especially mounts. So seeing that name in a scoped setup is the movie basically saying, this is the guy who plans shots. The Predatobr sits in that semi-auto DMR lane where people want repeatable accuracy without going bolt action. In the same section, Frank even calls it a personal favorite, which tracks with the idea that it's a rifle nerd pick. That rooftop pressure quickly turns into a hotel room doorway problem, where a 12-gauge with oversized controls becomes the main tool. Daniel Pine uses a TTI Benelli M2 Tactical when Eve runs into him at the Prague Continental. The Benelli M2 is a 12-gauge, inertia-driven semi-auto shotgun with a big real-world following for reliability and speed. In the movie, Frank describes this specific build as custom 21-inch setup, plus an oversized charging handle and an oversized bolt release. Exactly the kind of add-ons you see on shotguns meant to be run hard. Once that hotel chaos spills out and Eve ends up in the elevator and beyond, she's back to a pistol again. And it's the one with the bronze-looking comp that isn't quite the retail version people think it is. Eve uses a TTI Glock 17 Gen 5 Combat Master as her main sidearm. It's a 5th-generation Glock 17 in 9mm, customized with a bronze compensator, plus matching slide and magwell styling. Gun people will notice it instantly. On the movie gun, the front sight is mounted on the slide. On the commercially available version, it sits on the compensator. It's still the same basic Glock operating concept underneath, but the external build screams boutique performance. From there, the story swings into Frank's gun shop, where he pulls a 308 build off the gun wall, already stacked with optics and finished with a pinned muzzle device. Frank hands Eve a TTI V7 Harbinger at his store, and it's a high-end AR-10 style 308 or 7.62 NATO rifle, set up like a serious one rifle that covers a lot package. In that class, 20-round box magazines are the usual standard. The setup also fits a general-purpose rifle idea, a short barrel for handling, plus magnified glass for distance, and a secondary canted close-range red dot for quick work up close. V7 is known in the AR world for premium, lightweight parts, especially components made with advanced materials and aggressive weight cutting, so the brand name signals a build that's meant to be high-end without being a brick. After that gun wall rifle grab, the action drops into a café, and the next handgun has a history that starts in the early 90s. The Scarred Eye Assassin draws a Sig Sauer P229R during the Hallstatt Café shootout, and Eve later ends up with it. The P229 family is a compact, metal-framed SIG design that originally entered production in 1992 in 40 Smith & Wesson, built around a heavier slide compared to the earlier P228. The R variant is the railed frame version, which is why it's commonly associated with lights in modern setups. Even when it's chambered in 9mm, the P229 tends to look thick and solid compared to slimmer carry pistols, and that chunky profile is part of why it's been such a long-running professional carry pick in pop culture. After that Café fight, the town search turns organized, and you start seeing a premium AR pattern carbine where Knight's bolt design is a big part of the real-world reputation. Lena Maccaro and other gunmen use a Knight's Armament SR-15 CQB in Hallstatt. It's a 5.56 NATO carbine, and Knight's Armament is known for the SR-15's E3 bolt system and matching barrel extension, which the company has marketed as a bolt life and durability upgrade over typical AR pattern bolts. The platform is also closely associated with ambidextrous control layouts and a proprietary gas system length on many SR-15 variants, which is another piece of the built-to-run reputation. Once Lena closes in and the story forces a final confrontation, the next firearm that appears is another high-end custom 9mm pistol. John Wick uses a TTI Viper when he duels Eve after receiving his Hallstatt assignment. The Viper is a Terran Tactical Innovations pistol in 9mm, built in the modern, high-end 2011 style lane, basically a performance-minded, double-stack descendant of the 1911. This is also the place to mention why TTI keeps showing up across the Wick universe at all. Taran Butler's shop isn't just about selling parts. His name is closely tied to training high-level performers and building guns that match that performance culture. So the pattern's simple once you put it in order. The flex guns are the boutique builds. Eve's TTI Glock 17 Combat Master, the TTI V7 Harbinger from Frank's wall, and Wick's TTI Viper. The tool guns are the workhorses, the standard Glock 17 that shows up in the home invasion and training, plus the SIG P229R as the compact metal pistol in the Café. If you connect the opening threat to Frank pulling that rifle off the gun wall later, the takeaway is clear. Some characters walk in with a plan, and everyone else fights with what's available.